This is a podcast from GwentTorfaen Talks CIC.
Welcome to the GwentTorfaen Talks CIC Dementia Friendly Gwent podcast, where we explore the people, projects and partnerships making a difference in the lives of those affected by dementia. In this episode, we'll focus in on brain health and the risk factors that can influence dementia. We'll also shine a light on the incredible work being done across the Dementia Friendly Gwent Network to raise awareness and promote prevention, whether you're a professional, a carer or simply curious. This conversation is for you. Today then joined by Erin and Sonya. Now, what is the Dementia Friendly Gwent Network and why is it so important in helping people understand more about dementia? Erin, can you answer that, please?
So what is a dementia-friendly community, first of all? So a dementia-friendly community is a place where people with dementia are understood, they're respected and supported. The people with dementia, we want them to be able to live well and stay part of their community. So creating places that are welcoming and supportive is key to helping everybody. These communities encourage everyone to help make sure that people with dementia feel understood, valued, and that they're able to contribute. So many people with dementia feel that society doesn't always understand their condition and the way that it affects them. And sometimes people don't know how to interact with people that are living with dementia. So this can really make them feel like they need to withdraw from their community as their condition gets worse. Our Dementia Friendly Gwent Network helps everyone work together better and share ideas. Working as a region, we can show one another the services that we offer, how we can support people, network and meet new people with similar experiences and kind of shared goals, and really share what we've learned, share what's working well and maybe what doesn't, and allow people living with the disease or caring for somebody to share their experiences with us. So many partners and community members, including people living with dementia, are involved in our network, and we're all really passionate about making sure our communities are there and are working better together, supporting people living with dementia.
Sonya, now, what are the key risk factors that can impact brain health and potentially lead to dementia?
Yes, so we know from the Lancet Commission now that we have 14 risk factors associated with dementia. And so what we're saying to people is to have that awareness about what those 14 risk factors, to know your numbers, to know about blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure, the first thing is to know about it and how that can be managed, whether it's through lifestyle, whether it's through medication. Similarly, with cholesterol, high cholesterol, again, knowing your numbers, getting that checked, getting our hearing checked. We know that hearing is a significant risk factor, so getting that checked. We expect to see some changes naturally with aging that will impact us all. So we're talking about something different, but it's getting that checked. Social isolation, so making sure that we're engaging, getting involved in our communities and groups and in whatever way works for you as an individual. But social isolation is not good for our brains. Keeping our brains active, so learning, getting involved, doing things to stimulate our brain. Physical movement is important for our bodies and also important for our brain. It also supports us in terms of obesity. We know obesity is a risk factor. We know that age is a risk factor, and there's nothing we can do about that because we're aging, and that's fantastic. Dementia is not a natural part of aging, I will say. So there's not much we can do about that. In terms of genetics, these are risk factors we have no control over. So we're interested in the risk factors that we can. We know that head injury, so again, getting people to consider how they look after their head, particularly if they play impact sports, thinking about concussion, smoking, alcohol, all of these things are risk factors. And there's lots of support available for people if they want to quit smoking, support available for people around their alcohol consumption. Again, I would encourage people to be aware of how much alcohol they are consuming and consider in terms of units and what people can safely drink and how you drink. It's not just what we drink, it's how we drink. For example, drinking when we eat food. Then there's a lot of conversation about what we eat and our diet and looking after that. Again, they talk about the Mediterranean plus diet and seeds, berries and nuts, and that can be tailored depending on people's kind of cultural preferences or foods that they like. But again, we're looking at those kind of foods that we know won't help us, particularly if people have high cholesterol. Diabetes, so again, getting people to get that checked if they have diabetes. disease, if that can be managed through diet, through lifestyle. But a lot of these conversations are conversations with your GP in the first instance, or a clinician, knowing your numbers. We know what's good for your heart is good for your head, being aware of what those risk factors, reaching out to our dementia hub or to any of our groups in the communities and finding out what's available in your community, how you can get involved, how you can support through lifestyle, through changes. These are modifiable risk factors. So what changes we can all make to support and encourage better brain health. Sleep is very important for us. And again, looking after our stress levels and being aware and reaching out for support. There's so much available. And we do a lot of work, and we provide training session or an information session around brain health and the risk factors. And we're happy to do that online or in person to raise awareness about what the risk factors are and what we can all do to reduce our risks.
Talking a lot really about lifestyle changes that help reduce the risk of development dementia then, I suppose. Erin, can you share some examples of how the Dementia Friendly Gwent Network is raising awareness in the community?
As I've already mentioned, there are many, many partners and community members involved in our network. We have over 400 members, and our numbers are always growing, which is, absolutely fantastic. Shameless plug inserted here. If anyone does want to join our network, I'm sure we can arrange for our information to be in the show note. So yeah, as I say, as you can imagine, we've got quite a wide reach across different organisations, community groups and statutory services, which is, amazing. And this really helps us spread the word about dementia. One of our key goals is to help raise understanding and awareness of dementia. There are still lots of misconceptions about the disease, and helping people to understand about the disease, what it is and how it affects people really helps to ensure people know how to support those that are affected. And it also encourages people to, seek help if they've got concerns about their memory or they're not really sure, what is happening with themselves at home. As Sonia's already mentioned, we do deliver dementia kind of awareness sessions, information sessions, and we do this to all ages. It's never too early to start learning about dementia and looking after your own health. And we do this to all different types of groups of people. We also know how important it is to make sure that we listen to people about their experiences. And our Dementia Friendly Gwent Network helps us to make sure that we're constantly listening and improving the available support and services that we have in Gwent for people living with or caring for dementia. Something else that is really important is making sure that people know what services, support and groups are available for them in their area. It's great having all these services, but if you don't know about them, you're not going to be able to access that help. So our network really helps to share that information across partners, professionals and community members so that everyone knows what is out there, how they can get the help and support that they need, and make sure that they're speaking to the right person at the right time. So that's another way that we kind of raise awareness, really from start to finish. We talk about brain health, we talk about what is dementia, and we talk about how you can get support for, living with the disease and caring for someone with the disease.
Sonia, hearing then about some of the seldom heard groups, how do you engage with them in helping to raise awareness and understanding about dementia?
Yes, I think the most important thing is reaching people where they're at. So we go to the groups where they're already established, where people have trusted relationships and they feel safe, to groups where they know and they've kind of got a history of attending those groups. So we don't set up specific groups, or we don't ask people to come to us, and we go at times and we make ourselves available at times and days and hours when it suits people, when those groups are kind of operating. And I think it's about showing an interest in people's experiences and also listening to them, listening to their experiences, listening to them about what's important to them, and tailoring the information, the messages, considering, paying attention to people's backgrounds. So recently I attended a group, an ESOL group, and there's people from all around the world and they're all learning English, and they have a variety of experiences and cultural experiences and backgrounds in different languages. And so talking about dementia and making sure, how can I deliver some key messages in a way to a wide, a diverse group of people. And sometimes there isn't a word, there isn't a translation for some of the words I'm using. So we do a lot of that, reaching people, for example, with learning disabilities. Again, how do we tailor the information, the messages? How do we have those conversations? So it's about adapting. It's about making changes. It's about making sure that the information we're given is is appropriate, is relevant. It's about encouraging discussion. It's getting involved with people and hearing what would they like, what's important to them, what matters to them, how would they like us to engage with them. It's about having a presence and going back again. So there's lots of religious dates and events that happen in the diary that we get invited to, and we go along again to show that we are interested in our communities. We're interested in the diversity within our communities, and we want people on board. We want to hear from them and that they matter, and it's really important. So I guess it's just, for us, it's about making sure that that respect that we give to people, making sure that we're available and that it's not just a tick box. We're not looking to just kind of hear from people and then walk away. So I guess that goes back to that feedback loop we talk about, where we go back time and time again to meet with people and hear from them.
You're talking about engaging a lot with the community. You must hear lots of different common misconceptions about dementia that you encounter. Can you tell us some more about them?
As you can imagine, yes, there are lots of common misconceptions around dementia, even still now with all the kind of raising awareness and understanding that we're doing in the community. I think a key one is it's not just about your memory. People often think that, a natural part of aging and that, as you get older, you kind of just become more forgetful and dementia might be a given thing. And that's absolutely not the case. Very often, it's actually other kind of signs and symptoms that we see and that family members or friends notice in a person before the memory actually maybe starts to become a little bit more challenging or a little bit more of an issue in terms of day-to-day life. And also, again, going back to that point around, is it just a natural part of aging? I'm getting older. No, absolutely not. Young onset dementia is definitely on the rise. We are seeing more people diagnosed with that type of dementia, and we usually classify a young onset dementia in the age ranges of around 30 to 65. So yes, lots of common misconceptions, but I think the key message for anyone is to just really know yourself. If you think that there are changes happening in your behaviours, in your abilities, your skills, your memory, please do seek advice from your GP, because they will be able to do the necessary kind of initial tests and also even maybe provide with some, a bit of assurance around what it may or may not be. And it's always better to get checked, whatever the health concern.
I think often people think that dementia is a mental illness because we're talking about the brain, and it isn't. And I also think people think that's it, in terms of dementia. They think if they get a diagnosis of dementia that they can no longer continue to live their lives and do the things they enjoy. And what we try and encourage, and it will be different for every person, but we would encourage people to continue to do the things that they enjoy doing, to continue with that independence, and support carers and families to understand that as well, to be a support, but to allow people to maintain those skills and to encourage and be a support rather than taking over doing things for people, because this is really important. And how the disease progresses, some of that will depend on how people are living. So again, as we talk, like we spoke earlier about the risk factors, keeping your body active, keeping your mind active, these are key strategies that can support someone. And again, people often get caught up in terms of the memory loss and just, that dementia is just all about, and it will be very different for different people. They may have different signs and symptoms, and it might be impacting them in different ways. And so we want to raise awareness about that, because then if people do experience, for example, if people are displaying or they're becoming aggressive, often they feel embarrassed, or their family members or support might feel embarrassed and might not reach out for support because they think, oh, this isn't what dementia is or isn't. But there can be lots of things that can happen to that individual, and there can be many reasons for that. And so we want to say to people, lots of things, there can be lots of changes and people can experience them, and we want to raise awareness. But please do reach out for support if you see changes or if you're worried about anything. Somebody has a diagnosis of dementia, because otherwise people sometimes are suffering in silence, and we don't want that.
And finally, to you both, what's one thing you wish more people understood about dementia?
I think this is an easy one for me. I know we've spoken a lot about, seeking the support that you may need, but I very often hear people say that maybe a loved one, a family member, a neighbour or friend, they've started to maybe exhibit some of those signs and symptoms of dementia. But I also hear the phrase, but they're not that bad yet. And people tend to wait until they're really kind of challenged or struggling with day-to-day life. And I would really like to advocate for people to seek help early and as early as possible. The quicker that you go to the GP and that you can undertake some of those memory assessments, and potentially, if you are diagnosed with the dementia, the earlier the better. You would have medication possibly available to you. You can start doing things like home-based memory rehab, which can support you to be more independent at home for longer. So early is key. The earlier, the better. And again, just any concerns about your memory or any changes in behaviour, please do go to your GP and seek that kind of medical professional help.
I just also wanted to add that one thing I wish people would really consider is, just because somebody receives a diagnosis of dementia, they are still a person. They are still the person you know or love. They're still people in our community. People are not their disease. Please don't refer to them in terms of their dementia diagnosis. Please do not think that you have to shout so that they can hear you. Please do not make assumptions about them. Dementia will affect everyone very differently. It will affect us all because we will know somebody or we will live in our community. And just think about the dignity that we all need and strive for. And I would encourage people not to make assumptions about people, to think about how you can be an ally, how you can support, but please do not make assumptions and do not get caught up with memory loss. Dementia is not just about memory loss. Its presentation will be very different for lots of individuals. So again, I think if we could all just take some time to understand what dementia is, get involved and increase our knowledge and our awareness, and think about how we can all support and provide people with dignity. Everyone will have a name, they will have a story, they will have a background, and sometimes people, they may repeat something, they may say the same thing. Just go with it, be supportive. Please do not make people feel bad or ashamed or any of that, and it's something that we can all do. These skills are something that we all have the ability to be able to do, and I think I would encourage people to do that.
Erin and Sonya, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has helped you better understand the importance of brain health and the power of community awareness. If you'd like to get involved with the Dementia Friendly Gwent Network or learn more about dementia friendly initiatives in your area, check out the links on the show description. Until next time, take care and keep the conversation going.
This is a podcast from Torfaen Talks CIC. For more details about what we do, look on our website, torfaentalkscic.org.uk.